I got excited. Hello everyone, Daniel here, and this is the first episode in a series that I hope takes off where I review video games, and today's topic of discussion will be Marvel's Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4. It is developed by Insomniac Games, the people who also brought you Spyro the Dragon, Ratchet & Clank, Resistance, and Sunset Overdrive. For this particular game, they partnered with Marvel Entertainment. They have previously brought us such titles as Telltale's Guardians of the Galaxy and Contest of Champions. This game is everything you could have ever asked for in a Spider-Man game. The game takes advantage of every colorful ounce of action-packed, laugh-inducing, tear-jerking fun that Insomniac Games has learned from over their many years in the industry. Does the game live up to the hype, or will it sink with disappointment alongside all of the other superhero games that haven't met our already very high expectations? It's time to find out, so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is Marvel's Spider-Man. After playing through the game's prologue, you enter into New York City to make your next move. The gameplay is pretty fluid for most of the time you'll be playing around in the game, with combat that is as smooth as butter, and awesome combos that lend themselves to many different possibilities. The hand-to-hand combat in this game rivals that of the Batman Arkham series of games, if not better. The game also runs pretty smoothly, with very few moments of lag. That being said, you may mess up from time to time and possibly glitch out, whether it be from the combat, simply navigating the world around you, or maybe you'll just end up doing something you didn't intend on doing in the first place. This could be from having too many options or having too much going on at once, but that's not necessarily a bad problem to have. Web slinging is incredibly well executed and an entirely fun method of travel when making your way around the city. Fast travel is also an option, but web slinging was just way too much fun for me to want to use anything else. When it comes to the combat, you have several different combos to choose from, along with a Ratchet & Clank style wheel weapon menu with webs to use against your enemies in various ways, from tying them up in webs to stunning them using electricity. Your webs are also limited when using them against your foes, so make sure not to focus on just using webs, but to add some variety to the fights. There are a few quick-time events, but the fun, cinematic, and imaginative set pieces are a pleasure to the eyes, and more than make up for some of the more duller moments in the game. The transitions between gameplay and cutscenes are also very seamless and don't take you out of the experience.
We need more backup! 1032, Times Square, officers under fire! Bring in the hammer.
During gameplay, most of the conversations you will be having will be done through Peter's phone, as not to disrupt the game's flow as you make your way from one objective to the next, and sometimes you can even engage in optional conversations as Peter Parker. Load times are pretty fast. You usually see some stills from the game, and when you fast travel, you can see Peter living his life through Spider-Man as the game loads. Missions are marked on both the map and the menu, which you can access using the touchpad, and on the heads-up display using icons. This makes your next objective quite clear and very easy to find even from a distance. Police radio towers can be located in various districts throughout the city and can be used to unveil more of the map, but they are quick to get to, easy to decrypt, harmless, and also very useful. These radio towers can be decrypted using one of the many minigame puzzles you'll be interacting with throughout the game. There are also crimes you can stop, people you can save through police calls, and gangs hanging out throughout New York, though whether you decide to engage with them or not is simply up to you. Tokens can also be earned and used to unlock all of the different costumes that the game has to offer. The stealth in the game is also quite effective for when you want to tackle a situation as quickly and as quietly as possible, and with the least amount of resistance. The other two characters you play as in the game outside of Spider-Man and Peter Parker are also great ways of showcasing the game's stealth mechanics, in which you can distract enemies using different means, whether it be through hacking or knocking stuff over, while you sneak around to accomplish your goal. These segments also do a great job at showing how vulnerable these characters are to the hostiles of this world compared to Spider-Man. There are some missions, including these ones, where if you slip up and do something wrong, you will be penalized with a short cutscene showing you the consequences of your mistake, followed by a fail screen in which you will simply be forced to try again.
So, how's the grind at the Bugle?
Well, I just got an all-caps text from Robbie about my so-called antics tonight. So it looks like I'll be meeting with a legal team. Again.
Criminals. They go together like cookies and milk.
I wasn't gonna find you.
Gotta be honest, not a fan of Big Pharma, especially back alley Big Pharma.
Marvel's Spider-Man is not an origin story. The story does kick off with us getting a small but significant taste of what day-to-day life is like for Peter Parker as he wakes up, gets breakfast from his high-tech toaster, and launches out to become the webhead himself for the first great action sequence which opens up the game. The story basically centers around Peter Parker and the gang trying to find a deadly chemical called Devil's Breath and making sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. What else happens? You'll have to find that out for yourself. It's clear from the beginning that this game is going to be very cinematic, much like the movies of the ever-expanding MCU. The writing is great from beginning to end, with enough funny one-liners and entertaining banter to keep your inner Spidey fan highly satisfied. There are plenty of moments where fans will really enjoy the little aspects of this game, everything from references and nods to other characters in the Spider-Man universe, to bits of lore from the comics being implemented into the dialogue and the story. The performances in this game are fantastic all across the board, and they really help to enhance those more emotional moments. Yuri Lowenthal really makes for a great Spider-Man. Spider-Man, along with some of the other characters, will also have some moments of self-narration that can range from either funny and clever to hand-holding with the characters telling you what their specific objective is. The story is great overall, showing how Peter balances his normal everyday life with the exciting adventures as the Amazing Spider-Man. The story of Spider-Man has always been tremendously inspiring, and this game is absolutely no exception. There are little moments here and there where one of the characters will pick up an item such as a photo and take note of it. It's also worth noting the way Peter talks to and interacts with the different people in his life, whether it be his friends, his family, or even his enemies. It really helps to bring the game to life. I think that Insomniac Games even went as far as to record 2 different versions of the same line of dialogue, one for when Peter's idle and he sounds calm, and one for when he's swinging through the city and sounds out of breath. It's a little detail I couldn't help but notice while I was playing the game. It is a bummer, however, that the dialogue will occasionally cut off or overlap at certain parts of the game when another event is triggered, like starting a mission. It's not a game-breaking issue, just something small that I noticed. I would also be doing this game a huge disservice if I forgot to mention the incredible roster of villains that this storyline has to offer, such as the Sinister Six and even longtime Spidey foes like Kingpin and the Shocker. At the end of the day, the story for Marvel's Spider-Man is a bright, colorful, and all-around good time that is fun for the entire family. The game's main story took me around 12 hours to beat, including some of the side missions here and there to pass the time with, though I think it would be a safe bet to say that it would take most people around 10 to 15 hours to beat, and maybe 20 if you want to include all of the side missions.
Seeing them dead demon faces.
You know what? Just keep breathing. I'll be back soon, Mr. Punch.
Hey,
Miles.
Pete. Hey, sorry I'm late, man.
Oh, no, I'm just glad you're here.
All right, so...
As I mentioned earlier, Marvel's Spider-Man of course has a map, one in the menu and one on the HUD, helping you navigate the sprawling and beautiful open world of New York City. The game has plenty of side missions to lose yourself in for long after the credits roll. Side missions can vary from saving innocent victims from a vehicle that's about to explode, from stopping bombs from going off set by a mysterious but also familiar foe. There are also plenty of collectibles scattered throughout the city that can lead to you finding some very interesting items. Missions and collectibles are indicated using light beacons that can help you know where you're going and eventually help you to find them. Some of the collectibles include Peter's old backpacks, dolls, and even gadgets to look at later on and even have their own descriptions. Your suit could be upgraded using mods that allow for some extra abilities during battle. You can also obtain new abilities from unlocking new suits from the menu, which there are plenty of. These vary from things like a little spider bro coming out to help you by stunning enemies in combat, to an unlimited amount of webs to shoot at your foes. There are also combos that you can unlock through the skill tree in the game's menu to enhance your arsenal of moves when fighting criminals. All of these things allow for some excellent potential and replay value and will definitely have you coming back for more. As soon as the game's over, you'll just want to jump back in. The menu includes the map, skill tree, your current missions, a list of moves, and the highlight for me, a list of characters Peter has come into contact with and bios of who they are and what they want. One of the other collectibles that I forgot to mention, which really doesn't count as a collectible, are audio logs that are sprinkled throughout the story that you can listen to and learn more about your friends and foes.
I know.
This is all my fault.
No, not this song again.
他会奖赏我们。
It is obvious from the very start that you are in for a treat with this game. The entire experience is filled to the brim with beautiful action movie moments. The city, especially at night, looks beautiful. The skyline at that time of day looks like it was ripped straight from the panel of a comic book. The lighting alone is a sight to behold. Navigating this vast wide open city during the day is a great opportunity to take in the sights, and seeing the city lit up like that is really something special. You can even take a selfie with the game's photo mode. Now is as good a time as any to mention the game's day-night cycle. Now the game looks incredible either way, but I think it's a great detail that Insomniac Games added nonetheless. New York City looks beautiful in this game and was masterfully recreated by the developer. The game also comes with a small weather system that just seems to include rain, but is still nice to have. The costume designs are magnificent and are some of the best I've ever seen come out of any comic book property, period. As I mentioned earlier, the load screens, in addition to being fast, are fun to look at, and sometimes you'll even get an animation of seeing Spider-Man doing something you usually see Peter Parker doing. People on the streets will sometimes interact with you in fun and interesting ways. You can also listen into enemy conversations as you sneak around an area. The sound design in this game is pretty spectacular as well. Whether you're listening to someone on the phone or through an audio log, it really does have that quality of listening to someone through a small electronic device. Shooting webs and swinging in between buildings as you get smacked by the leaves in a tree and swish past cars and oncoming traffic has never sounded better. The game's soundtrack is also pretty good. The game kicks off with some upbeat rock music, and from there, the score goes from curious and subtle to fantastic, amazing, and exciting all throughout your quest. In conclusion, Marvel's Spider-Man is an incredible dive into the interesting life of Peter Parker and an exceptional swing into the amazing life of Spider-Man. Do I recommend you buy it? Absolutely. If you really want to play this game, I highly recommend buying a PlayStation 4 for it, and also to experience the PlayStation's other fine offerings. This game is anything and everything you could have asked for in a Spider-Man game, and then some. Please let me know what you guys thought about this video and what I can do better in the future. Let me know what you thought about this game if you've played it, and I will see you guys next time. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a game to play.
Love seeing you two together again. You always were my favorites.